Hey yo, welcome back to another bullseye of a tutorial. Wait, what? What channel is this? I'm just playing. Shout out to Nixie. But yo, this is Ty Ty, and I've had a lot of requests to break down one of my latest singles, Leave the Light On. It's a video, if you're not familiar, where I did a whole template of just Waves plugins. So let's go ahead and hop in, and we'll see what I did. So I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I didn't finish the whole song with only Waves plugins. I definitely could have, but there's certain things that just kind of a little easier and just smoother with my workflow, but that doesn't mean you can't do it if you don't want to. And I'll give you some suggestions on some things you can switch out if you just want to stick to Waves only. So we'll go ahead and give it a little snippet here.
Lanes, baby. JK, first class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them.
So I don't have a whole lot going on my beat. It's got some trim, stock plug-in, bringing it down to level. And then what I got on each track here is, I got my auto-tune, pretty standard, nothing crazy. Retune speed at 12, humanize at 6, and we're in the key of A minor, and I got it set to alto tenor. Don't have any other adjustments on there, everything else is default. And I'm running a vocal rider just to kind of balance the signal out, and I have it set at a range of 4 and -1, and then I have the output pulled down to -2.5. I got it switched to fast, spill all the way at negative, vocal all the way at positive. And I didn't even bring the threshold down to really control it any further. I thought that was cool where it was. Normally that's kind of what I do. Now I'll get into my sins and stuff at the end, but let's go ahead and go down to my buses here. I'm going to go ahead and kind of turn everything off and then kind of walk it back in. Alright, so the things that I didn't use, I went ahead and made inactive. That way we don't get confused. But starting with the lead Vox, I have a kind of just what I think I'll do is go ahead and just bring everything in one by one, and then it'll show the process as it builds. So the raw vocals.
Lanes, baby. JK, really? First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend.
So, it needs some EQ. So what I did here was, I got a low cut up to about 140 hertz. I have a cut here at the 20, and I have a cut here at the 275 range of 6 dB, which kind of sounds like a lot, but it really, really cleaned it up. You can hear. Let me go ahead and just turn that up a little bit. All right, so you can hear when I turn this off.
Lanes, baby. JK, really? First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on.
Big difference. And then I got a cut here in the mids, just under the 1,000 range of just, 1.8 dB. I got a little sibilance cut up here at the 3,900 range at a little over 2.5 dB. And I got a bump of 4.9 dB up here in the 1100 range. But I'll go ahead and bring this back down so as we build, it's not blowing it out. Then I got a simple de-esser here. I like this one. This is the one from Salt. I don't really use this one that often anymore. You could easily use the regular standard Waves de-esser. What is it, like 20 years old? But it'll get the job done. I just like this one because you don't have to set the frequency range. It just kind of attacks it where it needs to. I think there's like some weird AI built into this, but you basically set your range and set your threshold.
Lanes, baby. JK, really? First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on.
So you can see it attacking little small spots. I didn't have too much sibilance going on in this. But then running into an R compressor, I have a ratio of 4.1. I got the threshold brought down. I think I'm probably hitting about 6 dB. And then my gain brought up. And then I got my attack and release really brought down. And I got it set to the electro. So basically it'll emulate 1176. I just like the way the R comp sounds better than the CLA 76 specifically for this song. It's a little cleaner.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on.
I'm not even pushing as many dB as I thought I was. But then running into the SSL EQ, it's the GEQ from Waves. Little bit going on here in the low range. I have a cut of almost 3 dB at, what is this, 130 range. Just kind of clean up a little bit more. And then around 800, I have a cut of about 2.5 dB. And then in the range of 2K, I have a boost of about 2.5 dB. Kind of adjusted the Q to where it's a little bit wider. And then in my highs, I have a boost about 1.5 dB, and that is at the 14K range. And then we'll go ahead and add that in.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on.
It just has a nice little musical touch to it. Now, you can use for your multiband compression, you can go ahead and use the C4, the C6, kind of same settings, but there's just a thickness that comes from the Mic DSP. What is this one? The MC404. I think it's the MC2000. Basically, it's just real thick, but it's just a multiband compressor. Love how this thing sounds.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them add up. I've been popping beans, keep me fired up. Let the smoke clear, talking to my shadow.
You can see the bit of control that really brings in. I love it. And so then I ran another R comp right after it, and I'm sure some of you have heard this tip before, but I noticed quite a few other people do it too. I put a compressor where I can really control the attack and release after my multiband, and it just really makes it sit in the beat. It's just so much better. So I have a ratio of like 2.4. I'm not compressing nearly as much, maybe 3 dB max, and then I don't have any gain, but I have it set to the opto, so that's kind of emulating a LA2A, but you got attack and release. So let's go ahead and add this one in, and you'll see how it sits.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them add up. I've been popping beans, keep me fired up.
So it does kind of quiet it down just a little bit, but it does. It feels, especially on monitors, feels like it just sits so much nicer to me. So then before we get to the ad-libs, which I don't have nothing too crazy going on, what I got added in here is some saturation, and basically I got it all set up in a folder down here, so I added in some tape saturation. And I did switch out the J37 for the oxid just to add a little bit of thickness. So let's go ahead without it.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them add up. I've been popping beans, keep me fired up.
Just a nice little polish. Just kind of brings it up. You know, you got that tape compression in there. It's nice. I like the way it sits. So then I got my parallel compression. And for this one, I did end up using the Waves API. But I have a little percentage added in.
Lanes, baby. First class flight, pick your lane, baby. But if you ride with me, bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them add up. I've been popping beans, keep me fired up. Let the smoke clear, talking to my shadow. Out of town, bitch, turn up to my.
So you can see there where it just kind of pulls it forward in the mix. So then moving on to my ad-lib bus, I just kind of keep everything separated. But my ad-lib bus does run into my lead, so I don't have to do quite as much. But sometimes I'll just kind of crush things. But I like a certain sound that I can get out of that. So With that, I am running Echo Boy in my effects rack, quarter note. It's not super wet. It's at like 25%. And then running another delay here, just to kind of get some vibes going on. And this one is a bit of a more of like a slap delay. It's at 52 milliseconds, very, very short feedback. And then this one is at 40%. So then going down from there, I am running the CEQ, or however you would say that. Not a whole lot going on. And then running into some reverb. I had tried this, but I shut it off. Double Lock is a super cool plugin though. And I just have some reverb going on. A little bit of pre-delay, 30 milliseconds. No modulation. I got a time of about 1 second. And then a little bit of low cut, high cut. And I got my mix at 22%. So let's go ahead and add that in.
But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them add up. Keep it fired up. To my shadow. To my shadow.
So you can definitely get some vibes from that. So let's go ahead and just build off of that. I think I just wanted a little bit more compression, so I added the RVox. I got a little bit of gate, and then I got the comp pulled down. And one thing, I think I've showed it before, but you go ahead and just highlight the two, and you can drag them both. That way it kind of keeps the gain exactly where it was the whole time, so you're not increasing loudness. But go ahead and feed that in. And I got a little bit of limiter on there. Same ratios, just bringing it down, crushing it. Just very, very vibey. Now one thing that I do a lot of times for my ad-libs is I'll put what I got set as a doubler wide. So what that is basically I got my doubler, nothing too crazy going on. I even have the center information on there. You can copy these settings down, and then I just put an imager on it and widen it about, what is that, 1.2, and just kind of swells it up a little bit. So we'll play it without it. See how that just really brings it to life, kind of just. And I think a lot of times too, like when you're adding a lot of compression and kind of just fatten it out like that, it almost kind of feels like when you're turning it down, you're laying it under the lead, but kind of swelling it up. So it's just taking up more space, but it's just a really, really cool feeling. Now, one thing too, is I did have some slap delay on my lead. Now with that, I don't have nothing too crazy going on. Use the H delay, some high pass, some low pass, very short feedback, and a time of 7.5. Alright, so then moving on to my background vocals, let me just go ahead and solo some of these out. Alright, so what I got going on here is some EQ. I have it passed way up to about 500 and just kind of cutting out that low end, taking away the bass from it so it just kind of sits underneath the lead. And then I got some cutout at the 2100 range at about 2.5 dB. And what I find that does is it just kind of takes away the presence. So the lead is still really in control and it's not combating it. So then after that, at about 8K, I took out some more highs at about negative 2.9 dB. So a little vibe there, and then moving on, I got some lo-fi. What I did was basically pitched it down just a touch. That's the first notch. So it just kind of takes maybe a little high off of it, but it just kind of, Travis Scott does a lot of that to his types of vocals. But it just kind of almost gives it like a lo-fi-ish sound. Now you can drive it way further, but I like the way it sounds. And then I got the J37 coming in. Alright, so then what I got it set as, I got my formula at 815 and the speed at 15, and I basically just drove the input. Nothing too crazy, but it is hitting a little bit. So just a little movement there. I could have drove it a lot harder, but you know, I didn't want it to take over. So then after that, going into some reverb, I got Hall, and basically you can copy down these settings. And then after that, running into a meta flanger, basically just enough to get some movement going on, nothing too crazy. And then I'm bumping it out. What is that? 1.56. I think that was the same as my doubler wide. Just kind of fatten it up a little bit, and it's all running into an API 2500. So with that, basically, just controlling everything. So yeah, it's very, very controlled. Alright, and then what I got going on here with my reverbs and my delays, basically I got a blend of a few different things. Like my leads, I got a blend of an eighth note. Now with my quarter note, I do have it side chained. So you can do this, instead of going into full detail on all of these, it's definitely something you can do. So I just have a compressor in here, ran a side chain, and basically set the send to 0, and then that way whenever I stop rapping, it will fully allow the delay signal to come through. So let's go ahead and watch that real quick.
Bring your fame, baby. Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna...
So you see how that just kind of chokes it down? Very, very simple. But then, you know, just to kind of give a little run through here, my eighth notes. Shorter feedback, set to an eighth note, high pass, low pass. Quarter note, kind of same thing, a little longer feedback. Half note, I don't think I used any half notes in this one. Nope, no half notes in this song. I just like to keep some of this stuff built up here. That way, it just makes the whole process easier. So then on my reverb, this is my settings for my plate. Got a little EQ here, kind of rounding some things off, and a little bit of compression to tighten it up. Same thing with my Hall, just a couple different settings, and same EQ, and a little bit of widening. Now on my lead, I did run, let's see here, I did run my doubler. So for this one, I do have it set up for this doubler. It's very, very simple, straightforward. You can copy those settings. That's definitely a plugin I picked up from Nixie. It's dope. It's got a little bit of modulation built into it. And I mean, with this pack, the GTR stomps, I think it's like 10 different guitar pedals for like $29. So it's a steal. And then let's see here, just a couple other things. Then I do have some modulation here on the lead. So basically what I got going on with that is a little bit of filtering. These GTR stomps that I'm talking about, you can copy those down. And then some de-essing. But let's go ahead and play it with and without it.
Baby, I'm a fiend, I'm an asshole. But if you're gonna leave the light on. Let the baddies by the teens, let them mad up. I've been popping beans, keep me fired up.
It is kind of, the way it sits with the auto-tune is just really, really dope. I like it a lot. Alright, so this, to me, is the meat and potatoes. It's the, it's the gravy on top of the turkey. It just kind of pulls everything as far as vocals in together. So, this is my all Vox. So, going into this, I got some EQ. All I did here was just to kind of make it sit a little bit. Took out a little bit of 1300, and we'll go ahead and just keep building from there.
Drink, hey. Let me fly out of singing lullaby. Dirty talking girl gave you alibi.
And that is set to dynamic, so it's not a permanent removal of those frequencies, but it basically, when it crosses that threshold, smacks it down, kind of like a compressor. And then I'm running into Soothe. You could use Silk if you'd like, but I personally just don't really like the way that plugin is laid out. But if you have Soothe, you can copy these down, or if you're using Silk, just take out some harshness, smooth that thing out.
Drink, hey. Let me fly out and sing a lullaby. Dirty talking girl gave you alibi. Girl talk, girl talk.
And then moving on here, you know, you could use a waves imager, but I just kind of widened everything just a little bit.
Drink, hey. Let me fly out and sing a lullaby. Dirty talking girl gave you alibi.
To me, it just kind of makes everything sit a little bit better. But let's pick another part of the song. That way we ain't beating that part down the ground. So then after that, we're moving into a CLA 2A, maybe a DB at most. Just kind of tighten everything down.
You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch. I've been popping beans, I'm a bad egg. You don't wanna stay with me, the soul. I ain't trying to play a bitch, no.
And then what I did to get just a little bit more control, I be doing this a lot sometimes, is just kind of taking a limiter and bringing the threshold and the ceiling down at the same time, so you're not getting any louder, but you're kind of getting that little bit of squashed feeling, and it adds some character.
You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch. I've been popping beans, I'm a bad egg. You don't wanna stay with me, the soul. I ain't trying to play a bitch, no.
So I'm liking how that sounded. So that basically wraps up there with my all Vox. Alright, so before I forget, one thing I did on the beat was I added the MV2, and basically it just brought a little bit of the upward compression up to bring out some of those quieter parts. So go ahead and listen to this real quick. So the way I kind of think about it is like, because this was a 2-track, it almost brings a little bit of life. Maybe I wouldn't necessarily say like an expander, but it does. It kind of brings a little more life back to a pre-mastered beat. Now, one thing I want to show here too is I put the end console from Sonomus on here. It's set to 0, and I'll show you here in a second. I have it down here on my all Vox, and I have it bumped up just a little bit, 4.4, set trim to drive, and then I have another one down here in my master bus, and I'm running it as a master channel. So you can see here I got a boost of 0.8, and then my Vox, I have it set at 3.0 dB, and it just kind of brings some life to this. So check this out.
Let the smoke clear, talking to my shadow. Out of town, bitch, turn to my saddle. You're the type of chick to ignore a battle. Baby, I'm right here, up in the saddle.
So it's kind of subtle. I didn't drive it super hard on this track, but it does. It adds a little bit of that just analog saturation, musical feeling. And if you're more curious about this plugin, I did make a video about that maybe a couple weeks ago. Let's go check that thing out. So alright, in my master bus, moving on from there. So alright, in my Pro Q3, I got a low shelf here at 22 hertz, basically at 1.5 dB. A little bump at the 105 range just to kind of bring back some body at not even a half a dB. And I didn't do anything there. At 2700, gave it a little half a dB boost, and nothing up there. So very simple, but you'll hear the difference that it makes.
Let the smoke clear, talking to my shadow. Out of town, bitch, turn to my saddle.
Brings a nice feeling to it. So then next we got the J37. Just a little bit of saturation. Basically same settings as I had on my background vocals, but it's on my master bus.
Baby, cut the shit so dramatic. You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch. I've been popping beans, I'm a bad egg. You don't wanna stay with me, the soul.
So definitely just adding a bit of life to it there. Alright, and then next we got the Townhouse from Brainworks. Basically you could use the SSL G-Bus from Waves. So my goal here is to knock off about 2 dB and get it all controlled. You can copy down these settings. Basically, it's going to be the same settings on any type of SSL emulated bus compressor. So go ahead and add that in.
Baby, cut the shit so dramatic. You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch. I've been popping beans, I'm a bad egg. You don't wanna stay with me, the soul. I ain't trying to play a bitch, no.
And now, when I'm mixing, just to kind of explain this a little bit, I mix into this. So I'm getting a lot of my volume from that. So a lot of times I'll get my master bus where I want it to be, and then go to my leads, ad-libs, backgrounds, and then the all Vox. Just kind of work it like that. All right, so then on to the next. I have another imager here, just kind of boost things out. I'm not sure if there's a multi-band imager from Waves, but you could just swell the whole thing up if you would like to. But I like the T-Rex quad image because you can just kind of fan out certain different sections. So let's go ahead and without it, and then I'll add it in.
Baby, cut the shit so dramatic. You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch. I've been popping beans on my paddock.
And then after that, all I got is a limiter with a ceiling at 0.5 dB.
Baby, cut the shit so dramatic. You gotta pay the price for a bad bitch.
Now all that last limiter is really for is just my safety net. You know, that way I'm not crossing and clipping. But yo, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I got a lot of other videos on the way. And yo, stay tuned. Give me a like, share, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. I'm gonna catch y'all next week. Peace.